What's up? This is my second video talking about the subject of Looksmaxxing, and I found another problem with it that I would like to address in this video. So, I feel like Looksmaxxing is cope in a way. Does it work? Yes. But here's why it is cope. I think most people that are into Looksmaxxing are simply afraid to talk to women. Okay? You're incapable of talking to women, right? So, your logical conclusion is, hey, if I can't talk to women because I'm afraid, I must be so good, so beautiful, that they would want to talk to me. Okay? So you basically, stop. Don't do what every man in history has done, right? Which is to go and talk to a fucking woman, right? Your grandfather did it. Your father did it. All people did it. Except, you don't do that. No. You simply just look smacks, bone smash, whatever. Do all these things so that women talk to you. And maybe that works. But are you really attracting the woman that you want to attract? Here's a thought that I had recently. Okay? As a man, it is your duty to be proactive, to be the dominant one, to be the one that does shit. Okay? That is a manly thing. Doing stuff and, being the leader, being the one that is actually going forward, pushing, okay? So, in that sense, it is also your destiny, it is also your role as a man to approach the woman. Because by approaching her, you already show masculine behavior, okay? What now happens when you, as a man, are too afraid to talk to a woman and you wait until a woman talks to you? What kind of woman are you attracting? What kind of man are you portraying to be yourself as? Well, first of all, you're showing weakness. Let's say you have eye contact with a woman, but you still can't talk to her because you're too afraid. That definitely shows that in a sense, quote unquote, you're not doing what a man is supposed to do, which is to take action. Therefore, you're, not showing masculine behavior. And when you then have the woman coming to you, she has shown masculine behavior. She has kind of upped you, right? It takes a lot more for a woman, right? It's a lot more scary for a woman to come and talk to a man than vice versa, because we have testosterone, we have different kind of hormones and so on. And if she can get over the fear of talking to a new person, comparatively to you, then she has kind of won already. You don't want to be, when you meet somebody new, a new woman, you don't want to be the weakling right from the get-go. I mean, you don't want to be the weakling ever, of course. You should never be the weakling in any relationship ever. But, meeting somebody and the first thing that you do is subconsciously telling her that you are a weakling for not talking to her is kind of trash, right? And also, you're attracting masculine types of women that way, right? Because only really a masculine woman would ever go out of her way to talk to a man. And I don't think that we want masculine women, right? I mean, who the fuck wants a masculine woman? We all want, I guess, the more healthy ones, the ones that are more traditional, that are more in line with the natural laws of nature. I think those kind of people want less masculine, more feminine women, those who are submissive, those who are being led instead of wanting to be leaders, right? I think there's nothing more unattractive than a woman who wants to lead all the time, who wants to compete with men all the time, and who's just fucking annoying because he acts like a fucking man? I mean, that is the worst thing ever, right? You probably know a woman like that who's always chilling with men, thinking that she can in some way compete with them or be friends with them. Terrible. Super unattractive. Even when they are, physically immensely attractive, that can still push you off because the character of that person is so weird, And it's the same thing when you're not fucking taking action. It's the same thing when you're not talking to them. They feel the fucking same way. When you're acting like a fucking bitch, when you're acting like a woman, not to say that that's necessarily bad, but if you're a man acting like a woman, being too afraid to talk to that fucking woman that you want to talk to, then that's of course severely unattractive because you're acting like the other gender, and every healthy individual wants you to act in line with your own gender. Of course. And that's why I'm saying Looksmaxxing scope. Because let's say the chance that a woman approaches you is 1%. Let's say you're in a club, whatever. Not the best place to meet people, but just as an example. Let's say the chance of you being talked to is 1%. Maybe when you're Looksmaxxing now, the chance of you being talked to is 5%. A 500% increase, a 5x. That's a lot, okay? 400% increase, I believe, whatever. So, if you go ahead now and talk to a woman, the chance of you having a conversation with her is like 30-40% without even having to fucking Looksmaxx, okay? So, you being passive but Looksmaxxed is a worse alternative than being not Looksmaxxed, but being like, but actually doing something, being dominant, doing that shit, going to talk to them, right? So, does Looksmaxxing work? Of course it does. It does work, yes, but there's such diminishing returns, right? It just doesn't, especially if you're already average or above average. Sure, I guess if you're like really ugly, right? And you then get a surgery or whatever, no idea, right? Then maybe you kind of finally talk to them. Maybe you finally exist for them. Maybe you previously didn't. No idea. But just not talking to women because you are too afraid and then Looksmaxxing so that they talk to you is, I think, literally what most dudes are doing right now. I'm not even kidding. I think Looksmaxxing, of course, comes from insecurity, but I think it's more so the insecurity of not being able to talk to women in any sort of way ever because you're too afraid, maybe you got bullied or whatever. Quite sad. So, I will now give you a little bit of encouragement so that you are able to talk to women finally, Choose one that is attractive and then go ahead and fucking do it. Because, at least she will be worth it. Okay, so you always have to understand that you are, in a way, in our species, the superior one. This will now sound sexist or whatever, but when we see this when we see us as natural beings, and we look at the physiognomy, whatever, of men and women, the male is always superior, right? We are taller, wider, stronger, have bigger faces, bigger bones, are usually, smarter, and everything, right? We have beards, we have longer hair, we have a lot of dimorphic traits that females don't. So, physically, at least physically, we are females are lesser being to us. Okay? So, why then would you be afraid of talking to a quote-unquote lesser being? I hope that, you know, whenever a female sees this or something, they don't take it too serious. But, you know, they have to understand that, of course, physically they are, you know, inferior, obviously. So, you are in no way, when talking to a woman, you are in no way in any physical threat. No way. Because women are just weak compared to a man. Even trained women are weak compared to the average man. Like gym women, I guess. So, you're never under any physical threat. Therefore, there is no inherent reason for you to be afraid. Okay? You have to kind of shift your mindset. And I know you're afraid of, you know, being humiliated, or being afraid of what she will think or what her friends will think. But you have to shift your mindset again. There's nothing more brave than there's nothing more brave than taking action. Or that is at least one of the most brave things that you can do. So if you can reframe that from, hey, I'm going there and I'm afraid and I don't know if it will work, to, I'm fucking taking action right now. This is unbelievably brave of me. Like, you just reframed it as something very positive. You are insanely brave and you're showing masculinity. You're showing manhood. You're showing some big cojones, some big balls by actually doing, by actually going there and talking to that woman. Okay? So, reframe it in that way. Reframe it. And go ahead. You are the stronger being. And always, there's another thing, quickly. You are afraid of women because they're wearing makeup. You know, if women if women weren't be wearing any makeup, then you wouldn't be fucking afraid of them, because a lot of them are fucking chopped. Okay? You just gotta look at fucking any woman without makeup. You know? They often look like fucking zombies, alright? So, whenever you talk to a woman, always know that she's looking at least 1 or 2 attractiveness points better than she actually looks, just because of her makeup. Okay? And that's one of the reasons you should never date an average woman, because if she's average with makeup, holy shit, guess what? She's probably a fucking subhuman in real life, in actuality. So, go ahead and pick a beautiful woman. Understand that you're under no physical threat. And reframe your mind to believe, or to understand, that what you're doing is very masculine, highly attractive, and you're being the hero of your story. Comment some video suggestion, guys. What do you want to see? What kind of videos do you want to see? And have a great rest of your day.